we're live at King Power Stadium.
There's the goal, and it's Jamie Vardy again!
Everton are the visitors today as the Foxes look to win 6 Premier League games on the bounce for the first time in history.
Vardy into the box, he's created for Perez! Who does not miss?
It's Leicester City versus Everton, and you can hear it all right here on Matchday Live.
And Didi hits in, saved by Schmeichel. Oh, what an absolute cracker from Harvey Barnes!
Your place for all the big moments. You're listening to Matchday Live on LCFC Radio.
And Leicester, well, team selection pretty straightforward for Leicester City these days. They are unchanged for the 6th Premier League game in a row as they look for their 6th straight win in the top flight. Kasper Schmeichel is the goalkeeper, Ricardo, Kaglar Soyuncu, Johnny Evans and Ben Chilwell the back four, Wilfred and Didi, and then Harvey Barnes, Yuri Tielemans, James Maddison and Jose Perez behind Jamie Vardy up top. The bench for Leicester, Danny Ward, James Justin, Wes Morgan, Mark Albrighton, Kelechi Iheanacho, Hamza Chowdhury and Dennis Pratt. Everton arrive under real pressure and make 3 changes from a 2-0 defeat to Norwich at home to change of formation as well. The 3 changes, Morgan Schneiderlin, Theo Walcott and Cenk Tosun all out. Michael Keane, Alex Iwobi and Dominic Calvert-Lewin come in. Jordan Pickford is the goalkeeper, Mason Holgate, Michael Keane and Yerry Mina the back 3. Jibril Sidibe, Tom Davis, Gylfi Sigurdsson and Luca Dean the midfield with Alex Iwobi, Richarlison behind Dominic Calvert-Lewin. The bench for Everton sees goalkeeper Jonas Lörsel take his place back on the substitute bench. Leighton Baines, Cenk Tosun, Morgan Schneiderlin, Bernard, Moise Keane and Anthony Gordon.
Thank you very much, Chris. Yes, hello and welcome to Matchday Live here at King Power Stadium as Leicester look to break a club record and win for the 6th time in a row in the Premier League. I'm Dan Bates with you to build up till kick-off alongside club legend Gerry Taggart. Good afternoon, Gerry. You're wrapped up very, very warm there,
yeah, I've made a few mistakes in the past, Dan, so I'd rather over-club it than under-club it. Nothing for short when you're sat in the cold. But yeah, as you said, Dan, on the verge of making a club record. And not only that, well, I've got to say and commend, and this is probably a bigger part on the backroom staff at Leicester City, is the 6th game on the bounce without changing your team. How many clubs can say that in the Premier League? Not many, not any. In fact, I would say I've gone 6 games without changing your team in recent times. So you've got to, obviously make a point of that because it's those same players that are keeping this momentum going for Leicester City.
And it's exciting, isn't it? Coming to the ground, sitting here, waiting to come on and just speak about Leicester City, because I think when you're winning 5-6 games in a row, whatever it is, the excitement's there, but it's watching them as well. It's the way that they're playing, the nature of the football and the way that they're winning games. It's just so good to watch, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it? And this has been all the hard work that Brendan Rodgers has put in since he came in, and then obviously, in pre-season is now really starting, to come to fruition on the pitch. We've seen it in bits and bobs at the beginning of the season, but now, they've really found their stride, the lads. In the last, 6-7 games especially, they've been absolutely on fire, controlling the game, believing in what Brendan Rodgers is asking them to do, and going out and showing that, the confidence that they know they can score goals, the confidence that they know they're going to keep clean sheets. When you've got that, you're virtually unstoppable.
Well, who better to hear from, talking about the confidence in the group, than from one of them themselves. Jose Perez was a special guest on this week's episode of Matchday -2 on LCFC TV. You can watch that one back via the website anytime you want. And he spoke about the confidence in the group.
We are in a great position. We can beat anyone, but still you have to play every game as it was the last one. And know the importance of every point we're playing for. So it's very enjoyable, obviously, but we know our strength, and the main thing is make sure we use it well.
Gerry, you were on Matchday -2, of course, with Jose Perez during the week. You were very impressed with him, weren't you, as as a person as much as being impressed with him as a player on the pitch this season so far for Leicester City?
Yeah, he's a lovely boy, isn't he? Jose. I know Sam will be having a little chuckle to himself in the production room there. But yeah, lovely chap, lovely affable chap, easy going, you know, as you would probably expect. But, you know, he obviously loves his football, loves playing his football here. You know, some people have said that, you know, he's struggled at times to fit in. And that has made, you know, that has probably been the case. But when you actually listen to him speak and explain, you know, the position he's playing, it's a position that he's not 100% used to playing in the past. So for that, you know, you have to be afforded a bit of time. And on top of that, he's come in with 4 goals, vital goals as well. Okay, you could say that, you know, the Southampton game, you know, the goals are raining in left, right, and centre, and from every which angle. But for his confidence personally, you know, vital goals, and obviously the vital first goal last week against Brighton. So, you know, it's just a steady progress from Jose Perez, and I'm sure he'll find his feet and get right up. And it wouldn't surprise me if he finishes on double figures this season.
And it was the confidence that we heard him talking about there that it's clear is in that group at the moment among the players. As we were saying earlier, if you're winning that many games of football, there's always going to be confidence there. But to actually hear it from one of them themselves, where he said, yeah, it's just being in every single day is great. Everyone gets on with each other and they want to be out here playing. And I guess that's, as a footballer, you should always want to play football, Gerry, but sometimes you want to more than others.
Yeah, no, listen, I know that's the way it should be, and everyone who outside the game would think that, wouldn't it? But believe you me, some days are better than others when you're a professional footballer. You know, some people think it's easy and, you know, you're going and you're doing something you love, but circumstances, you know, surrounding a football club means that that's not always the case. But you're absolutely spot on. When things are going as well as they are, then the training ground is just a wonderful, wonderful place to be. You know, and I've had that myself in my career, and you go home just thinking, I can't wait to get up tomorrow morning. That's the feeling every footballer should have. I can't wait to get up tomorrow morning and go into training. I can't wait for the next game to come around. And that's exactly what Jose Perez and the rest of the players in that dressing room have at the minute. And it's a feeling you should cherish, because believe you me, even though it should seem that from the outside, on the inside it's not always like that.
And as much as we were looking at the results happening yesterday, Man City dropping points, Chelsea losing at home, the players will have been doing exactly that as well, Gerry. So they'll know full well a win takes them 6 points clear of 4th, a win takes them 3 points clear of 3rd, and they'll be right in that second position and really make it their own today.
Well, it just shows you, doesn't it, if you just keep doing the right things and you keep focusing on what's in front of you, then sooner or later the rest of the pack make mistakes, and that's exactly what we've seen yesterday. You know, with City drawn and Chelsea losing especially, you know, they've slipped up. And now Leicester, yes, they're playing a day later, so there's a bit of pressure on them, you know, to keep up, you know, the hunt for on Liverpool, who again, you know, I'm not saying they struggled over the line, but you know, it wasn't a convincing win by any stretch against Brighton yesterday. So Leicester City, a little bit of pressure on them today, just to keep up that pressure on Liverpool, knowing that if they do, and knowing the way Liverpool have got, you know, won their games in recent times hasn't been that electrifying, then maybe they might slip up as well come the closing stages of December.
We all know about the record that Leicester can break today, of winning 6 Premier League games in a row. But also, they'll be one behind the club record in the top flight, which stretches back to 1963, the famous Ice King sides, Leicester City, Gerry. But how much of an achievement is it in the top division, potentially, hopefully, after the 90 minutes today, winning 6 Premier League games in a row? Just what an achievement is that?
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic achievement. There's no doubt about that. But again, does it really mean anything? The actual achievement itself? The achievement itself, yes, it's a massive achievement, but I mean, for the record, does the record? No, it doesn't, because there's bigger things ahead. There's bigger fish to fry ahead. And again, you can't get bogged down in a one-off game like this to fulfill a record that stood for so many years.
Today's about the 3 points then.
Today is about 3 points and keeping the pressure on Liverpool and dragging themselves further away from the chasing pack. You know, it's as simple as that. And if they win the game today, then they can look back and say, yeah, you know, that's the first time since 1963 that they've won 6 games in the top flight or in a row. You know, so don't get me wrong, in the greater scheme of things, it is a really, really massive achievement. But for today, one thing that counts, 3 points.
Yep, all about the 3 points, and it's been all about the 3 points for Leicester City, of course, in their last 5 games, particularly in November as well. 3 games, 3 wins, 6 goals, no goals conceded, and it all ended with that brilliant win down on the South Coast last week.
Welcome to the Amex Stadium for the next stop on Leicester City's record-breaking start to the new season. International break over, the Premier League is back, and on a wet old Saturday afternoon, in goes the Gossam Harvey Barto to the far post, what a chance! And Perez has hit the post. Huge opportunity inside 2 minutes. Here is Maddison back to Chilwell, and now it's Harvey Barnes who strikes over. Another chance. 3 minutes in, it's 0-0. Leicester have carved Brighton open twice already though. This is a chance to swing this ball in. It's going to be Ben Chilwell. It's a great ball. It's Vardy's header, and it's tipped over by Matt Ryan. That is a very good save, but that is Leicester's 3rd big chance in the opening 7 minutes. 0-0. Moyes corner in, free header, and headed over by Shane Duffy. What a chance! He turns round and thumps himself in disappointment. Well, that could so easily have been 1-0 to Brighton after 41 minutes. Yuri Tielemans wins the ball, and Vardy seizes it on halfway, and he gets there ahead of March. Here's Vardy, he's played it into Perez. Here's Perez on his right foot. Matt Ryan's come out, and then the defender gets back and pinches the ball off of Perez. Well, that was a really good moment for Leicester City. Dangerous touch from Stevens, and Leicester can counter now. And here is Maddison onto Vardy. Vardy's the wrong side of his man, and he's got Perez in support. Vardy into the box, he's created for Perez! Who does not miss? Jose Perez strikes again, celebrates in front of the travelling supporters, and Leicester City strike first. They've soaked up the pressure, and they've hit Brighton on the counter-attack. 1-0. Here's Damari Gray, first touch on the edge of the box. Can he get his pass away? He goes over, and that is a penalty. With 11 minutes left, Vardy can put Leicester 2-0 up. He puffs out his cheeks in front of the Leicester fans. Here comes Jamie Vardy, and it's saved by Ryan, but then it's headed home by James Maddison anyway. The birthday boy scores, and Leicester's golden start to the season is surely going to carry on and on and on. They're 2-0 up. Oh, this is a big call. There's a check going on. What's he giving here? It's another penalty. No goal, but Jamie Vardy has the ball. Jamie Vardy against Matt Ryan.
Which way does he go? Where does he go? Straight down the middle? No, but same place.
Here he comes. Jamie Vardy strikes right-footed, and this time he makes no mistake. Goal number 12 of an extraordinary season for Jamie Vardy. Leicester have their 2nd goal, and with 8 minutes left are on course to make it 5 Premier League wins in a row.
Your place for all the big moments. You're listening to Matchday Live on LCFC Radio.
There was a Premier League game, or there are Premier League games currently going on. At Carrow Road, it's 2-2. There's 5 minutes left in that one between Norwich City and Arsenal. There's another game as well going on in the Premier League between Wolverhampton Wanderers and Sheffield United, and it's currently 1-1 in that one. So both games that kicked off early deadlocked. 1-1 at Wolves and 2-2 at Norwich. Gerry, just listening back to the win at Brighton, it was yet another fantastic victory for Leicester City. Ended up a brilliant November, as we said, those 3 2-0 wins. As months go in the Premier League, if you're having 3 games, you're scoring 6 goals, not conceding any, winning all 3 games, they must have been delighted with them.
It's great reading, isn't it, for everyone concerned, you have to say, especially the manager, be able to move a lot. You know, when you come into a football club, you see that there's issues at the club and you're trying to put them right. You couldn't envisage the start of the season that Leicester had, with the amount of clean sheets, the amount of goals they're scoring. I mean, I think you have to be honest and say that, you know, they've surpassed everybody's expectations. There's no doubt about that. And that's all down to the players carrying out the manager's instructions.
I gave you a little warning, didn't I, earlier, that I would ask you to pick out your main man of November for Leicester City, but it isn't an easy decision, is it?
I mean, seriously, Dan, you could easily pick 4 or 5, give reasons for it, and no one here would, you know, be shaking the head saying, well, I don't agree with that. But I think we were both in agreement that probably the biggest surprise of this season has been the emergence of Taggart Dan Bates. You know, to come into a team at the beginning of the season when there was a lot of speculation about Leicester, you know, after Harry Maguire had been sold, a lot of speculation on the trying to bring another centre half in, and then at the down moments for him to be chucked in at the deep end against Wolves on the first day. The progression this young lad has made has been quite phenomenal, and you know, he's got better game on game. He's grown in with his own personal confidence, and he, in my opinion, you know, this guy looks the real deal. He looks the complete centre half. And when I say that, I mean, you know, you look at Van Dijk as the best in the world by a long way. Yeah, but after that, when you look at Soyuncu, he can do just about everything. You know, his passing's good, his aggression is really good. He's got good pace. He's strong, and his positional sense is getting better and better. So for me, you know, just keep an eye on this guy because he's going all the way.
It isn't just those that are involved, like us guys here that watch Soyuncu week in, week out, Gerry. He's starting to now get the recognition from the wider footballing world. He's, alongside James Maddison and Ricardo Pereira, has been nominated for the Premier League Player of the Month award for November, or the PFA Player of the Month award rather, for November, which again is a recognition that's great. There's 6 players nominated, 3 of those Leicester City, which again underlines just how good the Foxes have been.
Yeah, they're on fire, aren't they? That's what I mean. I could pick 4 or 5. You know, Vardy up there, Johnny Evans. You know, the only one you couldn't really pick is Kasper Schmeichel because he's had nothing to do for the last God knows how long, really, has he? So, but he's also played his part. You know, Schmeichel, making sure that, you know, clean sheets stay intact. So there's just been a plethora of really good performances from this side. Maddison, another one, you know, coming up with a vital goal against Arsenal just recently. But yeah, you know, everyone's on song at the minute, everyone's firing in all cylinders. And that's why you're seeing 3 out of the 6. Because Brendan has built a team, he's playing to everybody's strengths. He's playing round pegs and round holes. No one's really playing out of position. And it's just great to watch.
Ricardo Pereira, incidentally, it's the 2nd time that he's been shortlisted for this accolade already this season. And one very quick word on him, Gerry, because I know you talk about him all the time and you probably get sick of talking about him. But he is just so good, isn't he? And he's taken to life in the Premier League so well, and the fans here absolutely love him, and you more than any certainly love him.
There's probably 2 or 3 that I never shut up about, to be honest with you. You know, Ricardo was obviously one of them. You know, I watched a bit of him in the World Cup in Russia for Portugal last year, and he came on as a sub to one of the games I watched, and he didn't really affect the game. I think he was playing wing back. He didn't really affect the game going forward. And so when, you know he was coming to Leicester, you think, yeah, I've seen a bit of him, but, you know, he didn't really set the world alight when he got on the pitch. But I have to say, since he's been at Leicester, since the opening 3 or 4 games where he made a couple of mistakes defensively, he's just been sensational. Obviously, you know, Canella, is it the right back at Man City that keeps him out? Cancelo keeps him out for the Portuguese team at the minute, who's another top class player. But you have to say, Ricardo for me, and I'll say it again, he is borderline world class, and I mean that because we all know about his attacking flair, the way he passes the ball. He just doesn't cross the ball, he passes it into the box. His link-up play, his goal-scoring ability, his creative side, but now his defensive side is absolutely spot on. So for me, just like Soyuncu, those two, well, Ricardo is complete, but Soyuncu is well on his way to becoming the complete modern day centre half. Ricardo is already there.
Yes, best of luck to Ricardo, Soyuncu and James Maddison, who are all up for the PFA Player of the Month award for November. One of those players we just mentioned there, James Maddison, he faced the media ahead of this game with Everton today, alongside his fullback and teammate James Justin. And starting with the fullback, the pair have been speaking about what it's like in the dressing room at the moment.
Ever since the manager has come in, I mean, these boys have told me about last season how much the dressing room has improved, and everyone just seems happy, to be honest. And every day you go out on the training ground and he wants to improve you and he wants to get better at the little things, and that's what he's done this season.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great feel factor around the place. Confidence is high. We're playing with freedom, with confidence, but we're compact as well. There's a great balance to the team, and even the players, like I said earlier, the players aren't necessarily starting every game or whatever. I think we've had the same starting 11 5 games in a row now. But even the lads that come off the bench, they're hungry to do well, and it's not a case of sulking because they're not in the team, because that's how the manager and his staff have made us feel. We're all in this together, and especially going into December now, we know that every player will probably be called upon at some point because of the schedule and the amount of games there is. So yeah, long may that continue.
James Justin and James Maddison there speaking here on Matchday Live on LCFC Radio ahead of the clash with Everton in the Premier League here at King Power Stadium this afternoon. Gerry, just listening again to James Maddison there and talking about the fact that yes, same starting 11 now, 6 games in a row, but he underlines the players off the bench and the players in the squad that are all hungry and all want to be part of it. No one's sulking that they're not in the team at the moment. It was something again Jose Perez spoke about in the studio, Matchday -2 in the week. He says that it doesn't matter that these players aren't maybe getting as much game time as they want. They're still hungry, so whenever they get put in, they want to play and they want to impress.
Yeah, and it's a hard task to pull off as a manager. But in the modern game, it's important, more important than it was, say, back in the 90s, because very few substitutions were made off the bench. But in the modern game, the manager has to rotate his players. And so invariably you'll see every game, the manager using up all 3 subs for different reasons. And so it's very important that you keep the players who aren't playing, it's very that you keep communicating with them, even more so than the players that are playing. I just looking at the bench and you see Dennis Pratt's name pop up straight away. He could probably get a game in 75% of every other club in the Premier League. Every time he's come on, he's impressed. When he starts, he impresses. But he just can't get in this team at the minute because of the form that they're in. And so, there's just one player who at the minute is happy to sit on the bench and play his part from there. Damari Gray, another one. He doesn't play it.
He's ill today.
Yeah, he's not on the bench today, I know that, but I'm saying. But he's another player who, coming off the bench, has had a major part in creating and scoring goals. He got the penalty last week at Brighton that Jamie converted. You've got Mark Albrighton, who's done nothing wrong ever at his time at Leicester City, and invariably, in the past, has been one of the first names on the team sheets. But they're all digging in. They're all happy to play the part from the bench. Because it is a vital role. It's even more of a vital role than it used to be. And so the communication lines have to stay open at all times for these players to make them realise how important they are to the squad as a whole.
I definitely don't want to be negative, Gerry, but is the Damari Gray missing through illness, could that play a bit of a part? Because as you say, we've seen him in these last 3 games, wherever he's come off the bench. At Palace, that first win in November was brilliant and instrumental in the Jamie Vardy second goal. Arsenal, it was 0-0 when he came off the bench and helped to change the game and push Leicester on to the victory. You've obviously just mentioned there, winning the penalty at Brighton as well. He's played a vital role off the bench in the last 3 games. So they're missing that option off the bench? Have they a plan B maybe?
Yeah, well, you've got, as I said, the name I mentioned just before you came back on was Mark Albright. No one is better than linking up with Jamie Vardy than Mark Albright, in my opinion. They just have that telepathy between each other. Mark Albright plays blind passes straight into the path of Jamie Vardy. We've seen it time and time again here at King Power Stadium. You know, the one goal that springs to mind was against Spurs. I think it was last season, the beginning of last season, where he just flicks that ball over the top. The keeper comes out and Jamie hooks it over the keeper's head into the... I mean, that is just... The understanding between them two, you know, that doesn't go away. So Mark Albright for me is the next on the list to come off the bench because Demarai Gray's not fit today.
The full-time whistles have gone in the other games in the Premier League that took place early this afternoon. Wolves and Sheffield United finished 1-1 there at Molineux, and it finished 2-2 as well at Carrow Road between Norwich and Arsenal. I know that may sound like a good point for Norwich, but we were just watching the end of it there, and it was pretty much all Norwich. Arsenal keeper Leno, Gerry, made a number of really, really good saves. Norwich maybe will be kicking themselves they didn't get all 3 points.
Yeah, well, I think, in fairness, it was one of those games that Arsenal at the minute are famed for, wasn't it? Whereas they're great going forward, but at the back, the 6s and 7s, and we're seeing that in the closing stages. You know, let's put it this way, Leno was a lot busier than Krull in the Norwich net.
We're here, of course, at King Power Stadium, though, for Leicester against Everton in the Premier League. And Jose Perez, again, was on Matchday -2 this week, and he was asked what test Everton will pose.
Well, teams now are getting a bit scared of us. So sometimes they change their formation to play 5 at the back. So I don't know what they are going to do, but it's going to be a tough game. They got a good squad. They probably not in their best moment, but still, it's a good team. It's a good team, tough team to play against, and we need to make sure our fortress is strong enough to keep collecting points.
He suggested Everton would potentially play with a back 5, Gerry, and he looks as if he's spot on. It might be 3 centre-halves with Digne and Sidibe as the 2 wing-backs for Everton today. We'll talk about them a lot more in depth in just a moment, but teams changing their shape against Leicester again probably is a sign of how good Leicester have been at the moment, that teams think they have to do something a little bit different to try and get a result.
Yeah. Or does it stink of desperation from the manager? You know, there's a reason why Everton are where they are in the league, and it's not down to the quality of the players that they have on show. You know, there's obviously something going on in the background that nobody knows about, and that's probably the biggest reason why we see Everton struggling at the minute. You know, because you look down now, you go through their team, and they've got some good players. You have to say, they've got some quality in their team. And you know, I heard TC earlier on in the pre-match pint talking about the amount of money that they'd spent on players, and they were in the top 5, you know, in the last 2 years of spending. So that tells me that there's something else going on. But it's a compliment to Leicester, if that's the case. You know, they do go 5 at the back. Because I suppose as Marco Silva, then you have to try everything possible to try and get a result. But you know, sometimes trying everything isn't enough. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yes, 3 changes for Everton this afternoon, no changes for Leicester. So let's get a recap of today's team news. There's half an hour to go until kick-off. Here's our commentator, Chris Coles.
Yes, Brendan, Rodgers has the luxury of naming an unchanged side for the 6th Premier League game in a row as the Foxes go for their 6th Premier League win in a row. So Johnny Evans is okay after coming off in the 62nd minute against Brighton last time out. Kasper Schmeichel, the goalkeeper, Ricardo, Kaglar Soyuncu, Johnny Evans and Ben Chilwell, the back 4, Wilfred and Didi Holding, Harvey Barnes, Yuri Tillemans, James Maddison and Jose Perez behind Jamie Vardy up front. The bench for the Foxes: goalkeeper Danny Ward, James Justin, Wes Morgan, Mark Albrighton, Kelechi Iheanacho, Hamza Chowdhury and Dennis Pratt. Damari Gray not in the squad, he is ill. As for Everton, 3 changes from a 2-0 home defeat to Norwich. Out go Morgan Schneiderlin, Theo Walcott and Cenk Tosun. In come Michael Keane, Alex Iwobi and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, with Marco Silva going for 5 at the back this afternoon. Jordan Pickford, the goalkeeper, Mason Holgate, Michael Keane and Yerry Mina, the 3 centre-backs, Jibril Sidibe and Luca Dean, the wing-backs, Tom Davis and Gylfi Sigurdsson in the midfield, with Alex Iwobi, Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin up front. The bench for Everton, goalkeeper Jonas Lörsel, Leighton Baines, Cenk Tosun, Morgan Schneiderlin, Bernard, Moise Keane and the very promising youngster Anthony Gordon.
Thank you very much, Chris. Still to come on Matchday Live here on LCFC Radio. We'll hear from both Marco Silva and Brendan Rodgers, as well as taking a closer look at Everton.
You're listening to LCFC Radio.
The University of Cambridge has confirmed both the man and woman killed in the London Bridge attack on Friday were former students. Its Vice-Chancellor described Usman Khan's actions as a senseless act of terror. Prime Minister Boris Johnson says it's repulsive that the convicted terrorist was allowed out of prison after only 8 years. But Khan's lawyer, Wajahat Sharif, thinks his release is the incorrect thing to be focusing on.
In my view, he received the correct sentence. I think that it's wrong to argue that he received the wrong sentence. Perhaps the focus should be placed more on understanding the underlying ideology while he was still in custody.
The licence conditions of every terrorist released from prison are being reviewed following Friday's atrocity. Boris Johnson says about 74 convicted terrorists have been released early from prison in similar circumstances to those of Usman Khan. A woman who became an Islamic State bride in Syria has returned to Ireland with her 2-year-old daughter. 38-year-old Lisa Smith used to be in the military but became radicalised in 2015. Jeremy Corbyn says he'd like the royal family to be slimmed down. The Crown has been battling bad publicity over Prince Andrew's connections to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. That's the latest. I'm Eddie Hayes.
The only place you can listen to every Leicester City match online. This is LCFC Radio.
Yes, welcome back to Matchday Live here on LCFC Radio with me, Dan Bates. Sat alongside me is former Foxes defender Gerry Taggart. We're just looking out at both sides doing their warm-ups currently. It's a very grey, misty, murky looking Sunday afternoon, evening, Gerry, isn't it?
It is, but it's still a beautiful place to be. And I've just seen Danny Ward convert 2 headed crosses
They had the plan B then.
On the banks from the goalkeeping coach, and Kasper Schmeichel's in net, and he's going for his third. Oh, he's put that one over. But he's just converted 2 header crosses on the bank. So there you go, plan B. Stick Danny up front. Let's get amongst them.
By the way, there's absolutely no missing Everton today, is there?
Oh, absolutely not, yeah.
Garish, orangey, pink training tops that they've got on, the socks as well, and the shirt will be the same. So I suppose it's good from their point of view. They won't miss each other on the pitch.
No, but I had that double take. I think, who are we playing today? Who are we actually? I'm saying, yeah, it is Everton. But you have to say, the tops they have on, they're very fluorescent. Let's call them that.
Well, let's take a closer look at Everton then, Gerry. You've had a bit more time to dissect the team news. There is an awful lot of quality in that team, isn't there, and in that squad. You even look at the bench. Bernard, he looked fantastic here last season as Everton won. We must not forget that. Everton did win here last season, Gerry. It's by no means going to be an easy afternoon to make it that record-breaking 6th Premier League win in a row.
No, I think when you look at their team, then you're looking at a team that hopefully is going to work hard for the manager Marco Silva today. You know, with Alex Iwobi in the team, somebody will work hard. Whereas, let's say Theo Walcott, not necessary. So even Theo Walcott's injured. Tom Davis in the team again. Somebody will work very hard. Holgate, young up and coming, he'll work hard. Calvert-Lewin in the team today. He'll work hard for the team. So I think, you know, he's reverted to, rather than go for out and out quality and ability, he's probably erring on the side of we need to match Leicester City for work rate first and foremost.
To give us an expert point of view on the Toffees is our opposition view with Phil McNulty. the chief sports writer at BBC Sport, and he says that it's strange seeing where Everton are in the Premier League, given the quality they have in the squad.
I think that's part of the mystery of it, really. You know that they have got players. You saw here last season, Gylfi Sigurdsson scored a fantastic goal. Richarlison's a threat. They've been unlucky with injuries as well. People like Andre Gomez, long-term injury. Gabi Min, who'd been bought to succeed Gay in central midfield out till the new year. So they have had bad luck with injuries, but there's no getting away from the fact that they've just not produced what they're capable of. They've lost to all 3 promoted teams, 2 of them Sheffield United and Norwich City at home, and that is really why the manager's under pressure. If you see them conceding an early goal, given Marco Silva's record, off the top of my head I think it's 24 games when he's been in charge and they've gone behind and they've never once come back to win. So I think if they make a poor start, the omens are very bad for Everton. On the other hand, if they get themselves into the game, if they maybe get an early goal themselves, then suddenly they may gain confidence, bit of pressure on Leicester. But for Everton in particular, it's very important they start well, not to concede, because one of their big downfalls has been that inability to come back once they've conceded. I mean, I think all the odds must favour Leicester City, the way they're playing in second place, suddenly looking the closest potential challengers to Liverpool. And then the other side, you've got Everton struggling badly off the back of a very poor performance and loss to Norwich City last week, and a manager under pressure. But as we saw yesterday, West Ham in a similar situation went to Chelsea and won, and Everton will be hoping the fates play a similar part today.
There's an awful lot to take from that, Gerry, but one thing in particular is that incredible run. 23 games, I think Chris has just told us there, that Marco Silva, once they've gone behind, haven't won a Premier League game, which is crazy, isn't it, to think of?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's always a mark of a good team, is when you go behind, you really have to dig deep to show that fighting spirit to come back, and we've seen it with Leicester. We've seen it here against Burnley. They went behind, came back to win the game 2-1. So that is a big negative for Everton Football Club.
What is it, belief?
Yeah.
And where does that come from? Does it come from the manager, or is it the players themselves?
Well, it's a bit of both. It's knowing how to manage the players. It's knowing the manager's state of mind at any given time. And that's part of your job, probably the biggest part of a manager's job really, is knowing what makes the players tick. And if you haven't got a dressing room that knows how to come back or wants to come back from a losing position, then you have to say something's not going right. Something's not going right within, the 4 walls of Everton's training ground, and that's why it's not a coincidence, is it? 23 games they can't win it. They've never won a game from after going behind. That's not coincidence. That tells you that there's something inherently wrong inside that dressing room, and that's music to the ears of Brendan Rodgers, I have to say. I wouldn't be surprised if he uses that in the dressing room with the Leicester lads, because he knows that what that'll tell the players in the Leicester dressing room is, you score the first goal, your chances of winning this game go up remarkably.
I guess one thing as well that he will be telling them to make sure that they are on guard for. Yes, I know it was before Brendan Rodgers took over at Leicester City, but last season Everton did show character to win here. I know they took the lead in that game, but then Ricardo scored that fantastic solo goal to equalise. Then Leicester looked like they were going to be the only team that would go on and win it, and Sigurdsson pulled out that absolutely brilliant strike, didn't he? 25, 30 yards out. But they showed character that day, and I guess that's what Leicester won't want to happen again.
Well, the other bit of that conversation, which was the other bit I took out of it, was what West Ham did yesterday away at Chelsea. And he's right, West Ham have been, struggling this season to hit some consistent form, but yet they go away to Chelsea, who are flying high. Well, as far as they're concerned this season, flying high, and they beat Chelsea away at Stamford Bridge. So that was a massive result for them. So that just shows you, that predictions are all they are. No one has a crystal ball. No one really knows what's going to happen. And a team like Everton have the capability here of coming here today and getting a result. There is no doubt about that. I'm not foolhardy to think that I'm looking down their team sheet that they don't carry that threat of getting something out of here today. I just think there's too much going on behind the scenes at Everton that the players, I'm not saying they've down tools, but they've sort of, number one, to let Sheffield United and to let Norwich come to your home ground and beat you, 2 of the newly promoted, and convincingly get beat as well, is not a good place to be at for Everton Football Club at the minute.
Just looking out in the coaching staff, one of them in particular, Gerry, just walking towards us there, Duncan Ferguson. Judging from the type of player that he was and the character maybe that he is, that surely he, if anyone can get them going in that dressing room, he might be the one, he might be the coach to just suddenly try and grab things by the scruff of the neck and make sure the players don't lose focus and do go out there willing to win.
Yeah, you would have thought so, but you know, it all depends on the management philosophy of Marco Silva and what he allows his coaching staff to say to the players and when he allows them to say it. I'm sure if Duncan, you know, was given free rein to go around the dressing room, then, you know, you may well see a marked improvement in the quality and in the results, but who's to say that Duncan Ferguson is there for the sole reason, you know, of coaching and not, you know, really giving his opinion on what's going on the pitch? That may be left solely to Marco Silva. We just don't know, but definitely his character as a player, and I know that because I've played against Duncan many times, you know, would tell you that if anyone's got any fight in them or anything that who sees things going wrong and would try and put it right, then he's the man.
Well, let's hear from the man that we have been talking about there, not Duncan Ferguson, but the manager, of course, Marco Silva, in charge of the Toffees, and he's been discussing his admiration for Brendan Rodgers' side.
Talk about football and about Leicester, I think, is important because we are here to talk about the match more than my future or that or this or that, because it's the most important thing. Most important thing is Leicester match and the type of team we'll play against, and will be a tough one. And of course, last season there we did a very good game. We had a very good performance, and we won the game clear. Will be a different one, like always, and they are in a very good shape with a top confidence, because when you achieve results in a row, your confidence come to the highest level you can be, and they are in this moment. Credits to them, because they are not just achieving results, they are with good dynamic, with some players in a fantastic moment as well, not just their striker, but the two midfielders, the two offensive midfielders in a very good moment as well, two full-backs in a fantastic moment as well. As a collective, they are strong, but again, respecting them, respecting their moment, the position they are in the table, but you are Everton Football Club. And when you are Everton, you have to respect them, but you have to go to play to your badge, to your shirt as well. And again, to be confident, we can achieve the result. This is the main thing for me. And I can tell you straight now, if you go there and you can play with confidence in ourselves, and we should play with confidence in ourselves, we challenge the result, and you go there to embrace that challenge and to try to win the game.
Well, just as we're hearing from Marco Silva there, Gerry Taggart, you're on the big screens here inside King Power Stadium. You're in two places at once, yet again.
Well, you know, I've always been told I couldn't multitask, but I've just proved everybody wrong.
He sounded confident, didn't he, Marco Silva? He says, we're Everton Football Club, we're going to come here, we're going to be confident and positive of getting a good result, but you have to really just look at the table and this stat in particular. Their tally of 14 points after 13 matches is 8 fewer than they had in his debut season last year.
You know, I don't mean to be disrespectful to anybody, but you know, I hear a lot of Marco Silva talking to the press, and for me, he just tells you what you want to hear. He doesn't really tell you, in my opinion, what the crack really is. And in all fairness to him, he's not going to come out and say, well, yeah, we're struggling, you know, I've lost the dressing room, the boys are low in confidence, blah, blah, blah. He's not really going to come out and say that. He's got to try and be positive about his team. But I think, you know, the more this goes on, the more Everton, you know, keeps stuttering, and the more that, you know, they're inconsistent in the performances. And obviously, for a club the size of Everton, as a manager, you're going to be coming under pressure. It just goes with the territory, unfortunately. But that is the modern game. He knows the rules involved in that. But no real surprise that he's come out with that. But I don't actually think he believes what he's saying.
I guess the last thing Marco Silva would have wanted today was a game away at a team that can go second in the Premier League. It's a bit similar thing to Unai Emery, wasn't it? The last home game Leicester had and Arsenal, it wasn't going too well for him, obviously. It hasn't done now, but you don't want to be coming to a place like this when you're struggling to a ground and a team that are doing so well.
The last place on the planet, let's be honest, is coming here. If you go to Man City, you go to Liverpool, it's a different occasion, or Manchester United, it's a different occasion entirely. You know, these are the new kids on the block. No fear, no respect, you name it, Leicester City have got it. Everton have lost their fear. They're showing Leicester City probably too much respect if their formations and their changes or anything to be going by. So let's get it right. Last place on the planet Everton want to be today is King Power Stadium.
The Leicester players and now the Everton players following them have just headed down the tunnel for their final words and final preparations before kick-off here at King Power Stadium, which is around about 14 minutes away. Gerry, those Leicester players then, we'll talk about the Foxes again, that are heading back into that dressing room. What do you think they'll be saying to each other? Because they'll know, you've already said about the record is irrelevant, that doesn't matter, it's about getting the 3 points, but they'll know they've been on this fantastic run of form. So, as we've heard from Jose Perez, James Maddison, James Justin, the confidence is there among the dressing room, among every single one of them, but they've still got a Premier League game to play today, so they can't be overconfident at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, you know, there's always that little air of doubt, or there should be as a player, before you go out on the pitch. That if you don't reach those highs that you've set, then there's a chance that things won't go as well as you know they can be, or they have been going in the recent past. So that's that little trigger switch for each individual. You know, because when you're on this kind of run of form, what you don't want to do is let anybody down. Because the expectation levels then keep rising along with the performances and along with the results. So that's the driving force that keep you winning, is because you don't want to be the one that lets your teammates, the fans, or anybody involved with the club down. And that's what Brendan Rodgers, you know, one of his last words will be that there. The standards you've set, you have to keep them. If you want to achieve anything in this game, you have to stay as close to those standards as possible. And I'm sure they will today.
And that's what Brendan Rodgers seemingly has been so good at this season, isn't it? Making sure that they A, keep their feet on the ground, but B, are motivated enough for the next game.
Well, I think one of the important things as a manager is not to rest on your laurels. Even when you're winning and keeping clean sheets, there's always things you can improve on. And you as an individual might think that you're playing out of your skin. But Brendan Rodgers as a manager might be thinking differently. Might be thinking that, you know, making 2 mistakes is too many. I want to see you making 0 mistakes in a game. Even though you're winning the game, then you have to keep on pushing and prodding and pulling and improving. And that's how you keep it's another way of keeping yourself grounded and keeping players' feet on the ground, is not letting them get carried themselves with their performances and trying to pinpoint little mistakes that they're making in the game and trying to make the players put them right.
Well, ahead of the game, Brendan Rodgers was speaking, of course, to the media, and he was talking about what pleased him most about the win over Brighton last week.
I think the patience in our game. I think we started the game very, very well. We had to work the ball. We showed real good compactness when we had the ball in order to get any good positions. Didn't quite break for us in the first half. Brighton started very well in the second half, and we had to be resilient and show big concentration. And then we were able to show then that patience to get the goals and score 2, and maybe had a few more. So, but yeah, the team are, you know, they're operating very, very well at the moment. And I think what we're doing is we're showing different elements to our game. You know, where we look a threat when a team is sat in defending. We look like we can really break through, and then obviously naturally Leicester have always been renowned for counter-attack, and with Jamie and the other fast players that we have, when the game becomes a little bit deeper for us, we can break out. So that's been really pleasing, seeing the different elements of how we've been progressing as a team. But ultimately we showed good patience in that game, like we did in the Arsenal game, in order to get through and obviously win the game.
10 minutes to go until kick-off here at King Power Stadium for the game between Leicester City and Everton. Gerry, just listening to Brendan Rodgers there, he talked about the different ways that they've won games on this run, which is quite interesting. Some games they've absolutely dominated from minute 1 to minute 90. Other games they've been well and truly in a game. And then last week at Brighton they had to rely on playing counter-attacking football to win the game, which is exactly what they did. So they're not a one-dimensional team, Leicester. They're winning games in lots of different ways.
Yeah, Brendan's come in, he's tried to change the philosophy slightly from a counter-attacking side to a team that controls the football for the majority of the game. We've seen that, but that doesn't say that counter-attacking side of the game goes away. It's inbred in some of the players. They know how to play that style of football. You know, the other game that springs to mind is probably the best one, was the win at Sheffield United away, where they had to cling on, defend for long periods of time, and then Harvey Barnes pops up and scores that absolute screamer. You know, so that just shows you that vital moments in games when they're under pressure, they're coming up with the goods no matter what. We've seen it again in the second half at Brighton when they were under pressure, with a classic counter-attacking goal that we haven't seen for a while because they concentrate on controlling the game. So, and there's been lots of different styles of teams that come here, some that sit back, defend deep, some that take the game to Leicester. So that tells me that, you know, they've got a wide-ranging game plan to overcome any team that wants to come and set up whatever way they want. And today we're seeing a different formation.
So that's it, they'll have plans then for whatever might happen. And as we said, Jose Perez said to us that he thought maybe they'd go 5 at the back, and that's exactly what they've done. So presumably, ahead of this game during the week, they've been working against a back 5 or a back 4 in training. So they've got every base, every angle covered.
Yeah, so you can only cover every angle and every base. You can't cover it 100%. Because it's an angle. And the sun don't shine on every angle all at the same time, so you can't cover every angle and every base at 100% of the time, but they'll give the players, you know, as much knowledge and as much information as they need as regards to Everton's threats and how you break down Everton's defensive setup. As I said, we've seen it so many times this season, you know, and it's all about, as Brendan says, you have to be patient. When you're playing against a team who, you know, have a different setup, and you're probably not as used to playing against as you are, you know, 4 or 5 different teams, then you have to be patient and wait on that moment. What is really clear for me to say is that the mentality, the football intelligence of the players on the pitch, you know, tells me that they're all intelligent enough to work the team out and know where and how to hurt them. And that is a mark of a really good team, the football intelligence side of it.
I guess from a different point of view, from a mental point of view, how will Brendan Rodgers be getting this Leicester City team both focused and mentally prepared to face an Everton team who are not on a good run? And everyone knows that. The Leicester players will know that. They'll have seen that they're struggling at the moment. So again, it's how's he preparing them for that mentally? Because you don't want the players going out there thinking, oh no, we're just going to win today. We could go second. They're all the way down there. It should be an easy win.
Well, I think as a manager, sometimes you start off with a worst-case scenario, and you give them the teams, the boys in the dressing room, the worst-case scenario. If they don't start well, if you don't do this right, if you don't do that right, if you don't win your challenges, if you don't pick up from set pieces, and then you build from there going forward and finish on, you know, complimenting the players in what they've just been through, in the form that they're in, the confidence that they've shown, and that's what carries you through. Because at the end of the day, as I said before, no one is 100% sure what is going to happen on a football pitch on any given day. All you can do as an individual and as a team is make sure that when you go out, that your standards are as high as the ones that you set the game before. And that is what Brendan Rodgers' last words will be.
The pre-game montages on the big screens have done their job to get the atmosphere racked up. The players are now in the tunnel, so I'm sure as soon as they come out, we'll hear that noise again here inside Filbert Way. If you're listening in on social media, don't forget that feed will stop. You'll have to head to lcfc.com/radio to listen to all 90 minutes, of course, for free. But it is now indeed time to hand you over to your commentary team of Gerry Taggart and first Chris Coles.
Maddison, oh, that is absolutely brilliant, and it's a beauty. Jamie Vardy again for Leicester City. He's up and running. What a fantastic goal!
Touch, back of the net.
Come on.
What a delightful goal that is for Jamie Vardy.
All the games, all the goals, and all the big moments. You're listening to LCFC Radio.
Well, life as a Fox is pretty good at the moment. Flying high in the Premier League, scoring plenty of goals, not conceding many goals, and with a chance today of going second in the table. A couple of records could go today as well. Leicester looking for their 6th Premier League win in a row. That would be a Premier League record. They could equal their top flight consecutive win record that goes back to 1963. And if Kasper Schmeichel and his defence keep up their good work, the Foxes could equal their top flight record of 5 consecutive clean sheets. The defensive form has been a big part of why Leicester City have been so good this season as the teams wander out of the tunnel on what has turned into a very pleasant afternoon. Clear skies above, but the floodlights very much doing their work. Leicester City and Everton down below. Leicester in good form, Everton certainly not in good form. Marco Silva under real pressure. The Toffees down in 17th place, just a couple of points above the relegation zone, just 4 Premier League wins all season. And the national spotlight really is on Everton today rather than Leicester. But the Foxes love an underdog story. We certainly know that from years gone by. Let me run you through the two sides. So simple for Brendan Rodgers recently. For the 6th straight Premier League game, he names an unchanged side. So Johnny Evans is okay after going off against Brighton last time out. Kasper Schmeichel, the goalkeeper, Ricardo, Kaglas, Oyuncu, Johnny Evans and Ben Chilwell, the back 4. Wilfred Ndidi is the holding midfielder. In front of him, Harvey Barnes, Yuri Tillemans, James Maddison and Ayoze Perez, with the irrepressible Jamie Vardy up front. The Premier League's top goal scorer, he has 12 to his name, and he is on a run of scoring in 5 straight Premier League games. We all know about the record he holds in that regard. He's got a few more games to go before that, but you wouldn't bet against him. For Everton, 3 changes from their last game. A 2-0 home defeat to Norwich City. Out go Morgan Schneiderlin, Theo Walcott and Cenk Tosun. In come Michael Keane, Alex Iwobi and Dominic Calvert-Lewin as Everton switch to 3 at the back. Whether that is to try and keep the Foxes at bay, or maybe the last throw of the dice by Marco Silva, who knows? Jordan Pickford, the goalkeeper, Mason Holgate, Michael Keane and Yerry Mina, the back 3. Jibril Sidibe and Luca Dean, the fullbacks, or the wingbacks as they will be in this system. Tom Davis, Gylfi Sigurdsson, and then Alex Iwobi, Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin up front. The bench for the Foxes, goalkeeper Danny Ward, James Justin, Wes Morgan, Mark Albright and Kelechi Iheanacho, Hamza Chowdhury and Dennis Pratt. No Damari Gray, he's ill, which is a shame on 2 counts really. 1, it's a shame for him, and 2, because he's on the programme this afternoon. It's always the way, isn't it? And Everton, their bench, goalkeeper is Jonas Lössl, Leighton Baines, Cenk Tosun, Morgan Schneiderlin, Bernard, Moise Keane and Anthony Gordon. Alongside me, former Leicester City and Northern Ireland captain Gerry Taggart. Gerry, it's lovely to be back with you. Brings back those memories of those heady days in Madrid, Seville, Millwall. I knew you'd like Millwall.
Oh, that's my favourite one of all time.
Yeah, I know.
I'll never forget it.
And neither will I. But it's great to be back here and with Leicester in such irresistible form.
Yeah, unbelievable at the minute, Chris, I have to say. And it's a pleasure to watch. Again, coming up a different type of side today on Everton. But when you have the confidence and the belief that these young lads have, then, you know,